Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about how I ended up back at medical school despite my first video being why I left at 18. And it's kind of a long story, so I hope you guys are interested. I'm gonna start from the very beginning when I was in high school because that's kind of when the story starts, and then I'll continue it up till now. It's kind of an interesting story, but it's also personal, and it took a long time to come to this decision. And it makes me realize that when I was 18, I should not have been making decisions for myself, and people did not give me good advice. When I was 18, I wanted to go to medical school, and I knew that I wanted to go from ever since I was like a tiny child. Maybe not tiny child, maybe when I was in high school. Because when I was in high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do, and when I talked to guidance counselors and friends, I didn't even entertain any other options. I was like, yeah, for sure, I'm going to medical school in Europe. And at the time, everyone was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. It was kind of a long time ago now, maybe like 6 years or so. And during that time, everyone was like, whoa, why are you going to college in Europe? That's kind of weird. But I was dead set on the one path that I wanted to go on, and I wouldn't listen to anyone else. And when I was 18, I was pretty stubborn, so if someone told me, oh, maybe you should consider other options, or like, why don't you consider going to the States? I was like, no, I'm doing this. And of course I was doing it for the reasons of you can go to medical school straight out of high school, and also that it was a lot cheaper. Because at that time, I knew that college in the US is astronomically expensive, and I did not want to go into debt or pay for that. So technically, looking back, 18-year-old me was a lot smarter in that way. And what happened, you might ask? I basically did the whole admissions process. I got in, I went for the first semester, and then I decided to leave. And leaving is definitely kind of a big regret that I have in my life ever since I ended up in the same position. But I try not to think about my regrets as much because it's not productive. So I don't really think about that anymore, but when the thought pops in my head, it does like feel bad sometimes, but I try and move past it. But basically I left because I just didn't want to be there anymore. I was also convinced by some people to leave, and it was just not a good situation. So basically I decided to go to college in the States. I took my gap year, and then I did all my pre-med courses. I was still sure I wanted to be a doctor. I was still on that track. I was planning to get a really good GPA, take my MCAT, all that stuff, and try and get into medical school. Now, things also changed because although I did well in my classes, I didn't like the toxic environment that like being a pre-med major is. Like, even though that's not a real major, I just didn't really like how everything was so competitive and how like that was everyone's one goal. So I did all of my pre-med courses, but I didn't major in science. I actually majored in philosophy when I was in school, and that was actually a good decision. I thought that major was really interesting, and I'd actually recommend for anyone who's planning to go into a grad school, like law school or med school, to major in something that you're actually interested in versus what you think will look good, because it makes your college experience a lot more interesting. Because if I, let's say, studied biochem or something in university, and then I was doing biochem for 4 years, and then I go to medical school and do more biochem and like more anatomy and stuff, I think I would be so burnt out by the time I get to like third year of med school that I'm glad that I had the college time to study other things. I got to read a lot. I got to learn a lot actually from like interesting professors, and I feel like it really expanded how I think about things. So when I look back and like regret not going to med school when I was 18, I also, on the flip side, am glad that I had the life experience from basically 19 to 22 when I graduated. And that was in the summer because I graduated, in the summer. And that's when the panic started to set in. The panic of like, oh no, I have no structure, I have nothing to do. I was looking at jobs and like they all just like didn't appeal to me, and I wasn't sure like where I wanted to live. I was like, wow, I can live wherever I want, where do I want to go? And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to live in Europe. I was like, okay, I've lived in the US for 4 years. I'm kind of sick of it. I want to like move abroad. So I started brainstorming like how I could move abroad and what I wanted to do abroad. And then I realized that what I wanted to do was actually what I did in the first place. After I came to that realization, I was like, oh no, Ashley, you really messed up. You made a horrible decision. But after I moved past that phase, I realized that, you know, I'm like early 20s. It's a really long life. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do something, and it doesn't matter your path on something as long as you're happy on the path that you're going down. So after I accepted it, I was like, okay, we're applying to med school in Europe again. I feel like that process sounds a lot easier when I'm saying it out loud, but it took a lot of like introspection, and it took a lot of like journaling, lists. It was a long process that took like 4 years, and I didn't actually come to the conclusion that I wanted to go back till after I finished my philosophy major. But I don't technically regret any of that time because I thought it was interesting. I also got to live in New York City for a couple years, and I met interesting people. I had like interesting experiences, not all good, may I add, but I think having like negative experiences also helped me grow as a person. Yeah, so I don't regret what I ended up doing, but I'm actually glad that I came back. And it's just interesting how what I wanted to do when I was in high school didn't ever change. Like, I may have veered off path for a little bit, but I ended up in the same spot, which is kind of interesting. And that just shows that that's what made me happy and what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's my journey about how I ended up back in med school. And so far, it's been good here. Definitely have regrets about leaving the other school that I was at when I was 18, but I blocked that out, so we're good now. And now I'm just happy that I'm doing something that I like doing, and also I'm glad that I started making videos again because it's really entertaining for me, and it's like a good hobby and a break from like doing schoolwork all the time. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Let me know if you guys want to see any new content from me, any videos, because I have some planned. They're just taking a little bit of filming time, and yeah, so thank you for watching.